Picking a 40k army is such a difficult decision, and that is probably why I'm so bad at it. My channel name isn't just a catchy title, it's actually perfectly apt for my hobby style. I bounce from project to project, leaving a ton of half-finished units and armies in my wake, but now that 10th is coming, and it seems a bit more simplified, I really want to get into that, and I don't want to be left high and dry where my friends all have viable armies and I don't. So I'm really going to push this one over the line. So I need your help to pick one because I'm rubbish at making decisions on my own. This won't be like when I asked you to help me pick a Horus Heresy army, because the only differentiators there really are colour scheme, Primarch and a few specialist units. Here it's the whole aesthetic, playstyle, everything in the army that could be different. Can you imagine putting tens or even hundreds of hours into an army, getting it on the battlefield and then absolutely hating the way it plays? I mean, of course you should have done a wee bit of research beforehand to find out if you think you'd enjoy it, but you never know until you actually get it on the table. So I want to get this right. I don't know every single facet of every single army on my maybe list, so I'll be looking for you fine people to fill in the gaps in my knowledge and maybe point out things that I hadn't even considered. Enough preamble, let's get on to the first army, and that is Orks. I actually have more Orks than I thought. I went through a phase about a decade ago where Orks were going to be my go-to army, no doubt about it. Cool units, great personality, lots of scope for conversion, absolutely perfect. And then it dawned on me how much effort I would actually have to put in to paint a Horde army up to a decent enough standard that I would be happy with it, so I kinda ditched it. I do actually have a fair few vehicles painted up to a very basic standard because I thought I would break the back of those first, and then the rest of it would be trivial. Not really how it worked out. So first up I've got a Gorkanaut. I loved this model when it came out. It is so orky. It isn't as big a project as a Stompa, but it still looks amazing on the battlefield. I assume anyway, because let's face it, it's never seen a battle for me. I'm missing a few bits and bobs on it, like the belly gun, and this bit broke off during a move, but I also have an unopened one in my shame pile, which I could steal bits from. I have a Daka Jet, which is finished and usable, but it could use a bit of jazzing up. I painted it about a decade ago, and I think it's sat in the shelf ever since. So I've become a lot more confident and a better painter in that time. It's missing the cockpit glass, but I think that just makes it more orky. Just need to add some flies to the pilot's teeth and we'll be all set. My battle wagon's half finished. I lost a lot of bits in the house move as well, so I'd be tempted to just use that as the basis for a wacky conversion or something like that. I might be able to rescue it, but I don't know. All this might seem like a waste of money, but a lot of the time some real events in real life hit, and I dropped the project for such a long time that I didn't know where to start when I went back to it. Other units I have are Mega Nobs in Mega Armour. Love these guys, they're just so chunky and orky. Got some Killicans. Loved painting these guys, I'd love to do more of them. I think at the time I thought I would have like a Dread mechanised force with a couple of Gorkanauts and Morkanauts in it, but it never came to fruition. Now this is one that I'm actually working on right this minute, and that is my Ork kill rig. So I've been painting up my wee guys, and I've been working on the kill rig, and hopefully I will have that finished sometime this year. It's a really cool model. I'm going to add even more guys to hang off it, so hopefully it'll look really good. I've got the Hog Rider guys, Beast Snaggas, a ton of them, Deathcopters, and a whole lot more. I've also got a lot of individual models that I've painted up over the years. I've painted them all goth, and if I'm being very honest, I'm totally burned out on that scheme. I'm tired of it, I'm sick of it, I want something different. So I think I would love to do Evil Sons and do Speed Freaks. I just love that look of the buggies and bikes and trucks and everything like that, just rushing towards the enemy and circling them and taking them out. There were some great stories from Armageddon about that, and it's just stuck with me ever since. Just very quickly, if you'd like to follow on with whichever army I eventually do pick, then maybe you'd consider liking or subscribing, just to keep tabs on things. Custodes next, and I think I'm right in saying that I only need about 4 units for 2000 points. I've actually made a pretty good start on Alaris Terminators. I really liked the look of these guys when they first came out. They're all base coated. I've got a ton of these guys. This cobblestone thing was done with a green stuff roller from Green Stuff World, I think it was. It was meant to simulate the cobblestones around Terra. I assumed Terra would be full of cobblestones, I might be totally wrong. Very simple colour scheme, just a quick dry brush over gold, and they came out okay. I think the problem there was I very quickly get tired of painting gold. It was just relentless. I think the real standout for me is actually the Dawn Eagle jet bikes. I started this guy, I'm actually quite far along with him. Wouldn't take much effort to get him up to tabletop standard. So these would be the reason that I pick Custodes. I've got an unbased Contemptor who has magnetised arms. He was pretty cool at the time. Obviously needs highlighted and generally finished, but he's not too bad. I hate Contemptor models anyway. I had to get one anyway, but every time I look at him I just think, I hate you. These are probably the easiest ones in my collection to get ready for a battle, but all that gold is just a bit boring. Unit selection isn't great, but I am open to any arguments for them. I'm going to lump the next 3 armies in together because I have done very little for them, and they are probably at the bottom of my list for various reasons. Not because I dislike the armies, for other reasons. So they'll be Votann Eldar, Death Guard and Harlequins. I love Eldar, but the biggest draw for me is the fantastic aspect warriors, and since most of them are Finecast, I refuse to work with them. Every time I use Finecast I'm cutting off so many vents and gates that I might as well be sculpting the model myself, and it never ends up looking as good as plastic. Maybe it's just my lack of skill as a model cleaner-upper, but that just reinforces that Finecast isn't for me. As soon as we get Swooping Hawks and Striking Scorpions in plastic, then I'm all in. If you're looking for someone that does have a terrific Eldar army and has mastered the art of using Finecast and metal models from the Eldar range, I would recommend following Trent Paints Minis on Instagram. He's really good. He posts constantly and it's been a joy to watch his army grow over the last couple of years. And he's also a jolly nice fellow to boot. I've painted up a few Death Guard and had a jolly nice time doing so, but my brother is right into the disease-ridden boys and also has a large Death Guard army, so there's no point in having 2 in the family. Harlequins are amazing and I love the finished product when I actually manage to get them done, but I don't think I have the eye for those checks anymore. They were difficult at the time and they're even more difficult now. These models are tiny and looking back I have no idea how I ever managed to paint these checks at all, so maybe not any of them, but I'm willing to hear arguments for any of them as usual. I have to consider Space Marines of course. I love Space Marines and I love the scale of the Primaris range, even if I'm not too sure about the shoehorned origin story. I think it'd be between 2 chapters, either Stormlords, who are White Scar's successors, and have a rather natty white and red haft scheme, and would be very bike heavy, or Howling Griffins, who are Ultramarines' successors and look fantastic altogether. I imagine they do anyway, because this is about my 5th time trying to find a viable scheme for Howling Griffins. I might have cracked it this time, thanks to contrast. With a scheme like this, it needs to be simple, it needs to be repeatable, and it needs to look good as well, so there's a lot that has to go right there. I have great respect for anyone that has painted a full Howling Griffins or any quartered colour scheme army. I have enough sprues to create many 2000 point Space Marine armies, but I just need to concentrate on one. Blood Angels used to be my guys, but James, who was in another video, has a really nicely painted army of them, so there is absolutely no point in having 2 competing Blood Angel armies. I think what I'm going to do is paint up an intercession kill team of both, and then decide which one I like the best. In theory, Space Marines should be the perfect sweet spot for model count, ease of painting and flexibility in the battlefield, but we've already got a ton of Astartes armies and I don't know if I just want to add another one on top of that. It really sounds like I'm trying to convince myself not to go with Space Marines, but they are a top contender, especially with all the Leviathan models coming out, because I went into the Games Workshop store in Glasgow, had a look at the models, I saw them at Warhammer Fest and they are incredible. I can't wait to get my hands on those Terminator models. So it might just come down to whichever chapter has the best looking Terminators. Space Marines will always be near the top of any list that I make because they're so damn cool. I actually have a massive Firstborn Ultramarines army, but you're not getting to see that because it's awful and I'm really ashamed of it. They also came face to face with my ex-wife and a bin bag, so they're in a terrible state. And last, but certainly not least, my Votann. I love my Votann. I'm totally sold in the colour scheme. White and red, which I realise I use a lot, and the models are all fantastic. I like the sound of judgment tokens which stack on enemy units that kill your guys, then your guys get really angry and focus fire them down. It's mostly about the models though. I have a few original squats, so having these guys available is great. The vehicles are really cool looking, and I also love the big exoskeleton looking guys, although this guy isn't finished yet, he needs tidied up a lot. I also love Santa Squat. He adds a bit of colour to the army but also fitted in perfectly with the scheme, so he was a great addition for me. With the Squat kill team it looks like they'll be getting a few new units sometime soon, but this is also my biggest issue with them. There's just not much to them yet, there's not much unit choice, so it might be a bit tedious building lists with them. There are 11 separate units to buy, and the Einherjar champion is very similar to the Hearthguard, so it's not really any different to paint. I love my Santa Squat, I love my Iron Master, and I love my Hernkin Pioneers, but list building might become a chore. Would I be better going for something with infinite conversion scope like Orks, or with infinite unit choice like Space Marines? I just don't know, and I really need your help in deciding. I've also got a ton of knights, but they're for another video, or maybe videos depending on how it pans out. So let me know your thoughts, and if you're feeling really generous, you could maybe like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. If you're looking for something else to watch, I'd recommend this one. Cheers.